The wind howled through the narrow streets as Daniel tightened his coat around him. The city never slept, but he had learned to carve silence within himself, a lesson that took years of struggle, failures, and small victories. He had not always been this way. There was a time when every setback crushed him, when every rejection felt personal, when success seemed like a game others played but he could never quite master. But that changed when he discovered an old philosophy that reshaped his perspective: Stoicism. Mastering perception, how to see obstacles as opportunities. Daniel used to think that success meant avoiding problems. The fewer roadblocks, the smoother the path, the better. But life had other plans. His first business collapsed under the weight of inexperience. His second job ended with a pink slip. His relationships suffered as his frustrations mounted. He was on the verge of giving up when he stumbled across the words of Marcus Aurelius: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He began to train his mind to see differently. Challenges were no longer barriers, they were tests. The lost job? A chance to pivot into a field he truly cared about. The failed business? An opportunity to learn resilience. He rewired his perception, and instead of drowning in disappointment, he learned to swim through it. The shift was slow, but every time he reframed a hardship, he noticed how his emotional responses changed. Over time, his ability to endure setbacks became a skill in itself. He applied this mindset to everything: financial struggles, professional failures, personal heartbreaks. He saw how reframing a situation didn't change reality, but it changed how he experienced it. This new approach made him resilient, adaptable, and ready for whatever came his way. Discipline over desire: why consistent action beats motivation. In the past, Daniel had waited for inspiration to strike. He'd plan elaborate schedules, convinced that tomorrow he'd be more motivated. But motivation was fickle, and tomorrow never came. Stoicism taught him that discipline was the key. He began waking up at the same hour every morning, whether he felt like it or not. He committed to working on his craft daily, whether the muse arrived or not. Seneca's words guided him. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. If success was about luck, then preparation was within his control. The difference became clear. The more he showed up, the more opportunities seemed to find him. His new business started gaining traction, not because of a single lucky break, but because his daily actions compounded over time. He started noticing a pattern. The days when he pushed forward despite his lack of motivation were often the most rewarding. He became obsessed with consistency, realizing that small, deliberate actions were infinitely more powerful than bursts of fleeting inspiration. With every passing day, he refined his craft, sharpened his skills, and built a reputation for reliability. People took notice, not because he was the most talented, but because he was the most disciplined. Over time, the consistency turned into results, and those results built his success. Embracing discomfort, growth through adversity. There was a time when Daniel avoided discomfort at all costs. He sought easy routes, familiar comforts, and predictable routines, but nothing great ever came from ease. Epictetus had said, "Difficulties are things that show what men are." And so, Daniel leaned into discomfort. He took on projects he felt unqualified for. He spoke in meetings despite his fear of sounding foolish. He embraced the gym, pushing his body beyond limits he had once thought unbreakable. The more he tested himself, the more he realized discomfort was a teacher. Growth was never in comfort zones. Success wasn't about avoiding hardship, it was about becoming the kind of person who thrived in it. He started setting challenges for himself, small ones at first: a cold shower, a tough conversation, an extra hour of work when he was exhausted. Each act of discomfort chipped away at his old self, revealing a stronger, more capable version underneath. He realized that every great success story was built on a foundation of adversity. The strongest people weren't those who avoided pain, but those who embraced it, learned from it, and used it as fuel. He stopped waiting for things to get easier and started making himself stronger instead. Control versus acceptance. focusing on what truly matters. Daniel had wasted years trying to control the uncontrollable, worrying about other people's opinions, stressing over market trends, fixating on things beyond his reach. But Stoicism taught him to differentiate between what he could and couldn't control. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. This became his mantra. He stopped chasing validation and focused on his craft. He stopped fearing failure and embraced learning. He let go of resentment, realizing that anger only poisoned the vessel that carried it. The more he surrendered control over the uncontrollable, the freer he became. He started putting his energy into things that truly mattered: his growth, his integrity, his actions. He found peace in the realization that while he couldn't control outcomes, he could control his efforts. He accepted that rejection was part of the process, that uncertainty was unavoidable, and that worrying about things outside his influence was wasted energy. This shift didn't just make him more productive, it made him lighter, more focused, and more in tune with the present. The power of the present, winning the day, every day. Success was no longer a distant goal for Daniel. It was a daily practice. He stopped postponing happiness, stopped living for some future version of himself. He embraced the present, knowing that every day was a small battle, and winning enough of them would inevitably lead to triumph. Instead of saying, "One day I'll be successful," he asked himself, "How can I be successful today?" The answer was always within his control: show up, do the work, learn, adapt, move forward. And so he did. Every day became a win in itself. Each completed task, each disciplined act, each moment of resilience was another brick in the foundation of the life he was building. Over time, he stopped thinking about success as something external, something far away. It was here, in the way he moved through each moment, in the way he responded to setbacks, in the way he carried himself. Daniel's story was not one of overnight success. It was a journey, built brick by brick, principle by principle. But as he stood in the cold wind that night, staring at the city that had once overwhelmed him, he smiled. He had become unshakable, not because life had become easier, but because he had become stronger. And that strength, the ability to face life's chaos with calm, to act with discipline, to embrace discomfort, to control only what was his to control, and to fully engage with the present, was the ultimate success. Are you ready to reclaim your power, set boundaries, and live life on your own terms? If this story inspired you, don't stop here. Hit that subscribe button and become part of a community that embraces Stoic wisdom for a stronger, freer mind. Tell us in the comments, have you ever struggled? How did you break free? Your story could inspire someone else on their journey. Like this video if you found value in it. Each like helps us reach more people who need this message of self-respect and inner strength. Together we rise, together we grow. Subscribe now and walk the Stoic path with us.